Episode 46, How to Make Money from Photography.
Welcome to the Visionary Variety Podcast, where we cover cool stuff like photo, video, film, books, and technology. So, switch on your brain and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Visionary Variety Podcast. Now, for all of you longtime listeners, I'm sure you've picked up on this, but this podcast has a lot of variety. I know, right? Surprise, surprise. We talk about everything from sci-fi to the latest movies, technology, and even business stuff. This is going to be one for all my photographers out there who are interested in not just making money with their photography, but having a business that is sustainable, that is profitable, that you can make a career out of. And we're going to talk about a few different ways to do that and some different mindsets that need to be in place first. So I'm hoping this will benefit you guys out there. And I would love to hear back from you all on this. I know there's a lot of different opinions out there. There's no one way. There's no perfect way. There's no easy 3-step plan to being a successful photographer. But after all is said and done, I would love to hear back from you guys on what your thoughts are on this episode. I've been doing photography for almost 15 years now, which is crazy because in about 8 days, that will have been half of my life. I'm turning 30 next Thursday. That's just, wow, I'm old. And yeah, 50% of my life has been spent taking photos and making art, and I'm very proud of that. But I have not always been a successful business, and even to this day, I'm still figuring things out. In fact, as of last month, November in 2018, I have switched my business to what's called IPS, or in-person sales. That's a type of business plan within photography that focuses on the personal touch with your client, planning the photo shoot, crafting it custom to them, meeting with them in person multiple times. And later, after the photo shoot's done, you meet in person and you have a sales consultation or an ordering session where basically they pick out which photos they want as prints or as an album or as whatever. And you go and make that order happen and you deliver to them high quality physical art. You may give digitals, you may not, but IPS focuses on sales of physical product, high quality prints and canvases and whatnot. So that is a big switch that I've made in my photography business. My mind has just been stretched to the max ever since summertime. It's really when I started to pursue, how can I be more profitable? What is this IPS thing about? I hate sales. I don't like pressuring people to get things they don't want, yada, yada. And so I was really just researching and learning from a lot of people. Jim Landers has been my business coach through this whole thing. Other friends like Brandy Morgan and Chad Cooley, they've really helped me a lot. These are local photographers in San Antonio. I could just ask them questions, dumb questions, random stuff, things like, well, what if this happens? Or what if the client asks for this? I can ask them any question I want. And they were so nice to help me. And, that's always been my passion, is to help photographers. And I do this as much as I can. But now I needed help. This time I needed to be educated on something new that I didn't understand. And it's really changed the way I see my business. And I believe it has been a huge step towards making my business profitable. Sure, I'd made money before. Anyone can make a few bucks off of a photo shoot. If you charge $20 for a photo shoot, guess what? You just made $20. You didn't have that before, but now you have $20. So technically, you made money. But perhaps the title of this podcast is a little bit of a misnomer, and I did it on purpose. This is not just about making money on photography. That's technically easy, and any amount of money you can make is money made, right? But I'm actually focusing in this episode to talk about how to be profitable, to have profits that can go to paying taxes, it can go to supporting your business, and then can go to supporting yourself and or your family. That's what profitability is to me. I want my business to benefit my family. I don't want it to just use me up and use up all my energy and time and fuel. And in the end of the day, I guess I paid a few bills and that's that. But I want to take this to the next level. And I want my business to support and carry and take care of my family financially. All right, so let's talk a little bit about my origin in the business world. I started selling digitals as my product, as almost all photographers do. This is just the typical first step these days is we assume that people just want digitals, so we're just going to give them digitals. And we just kind of stop right there. We don't go any further. There's not a lot of profit to be made, in my opinion. And, there's kind of a ceiling you hit. Like, how much money can you really sell digital files to someone for? I don't care how great your photography is. Just the psychology of paying $400 for one digital file I just don't see that happening. Now, I am sure somewhere out there it's happening, selling a digital file to a celebrity or doing some amazing composite work for someone with a whole bunch of money to blow. Sure, they'll pay for that. But that's not your normal client. That's not the people that most people have coming through their studio or through their business. Once I realized that I had hit the ceiling of how much I could, on average make with my digital photo shoots, I was kind of like, shoot, I'll need to do like 8 of these a month just to pay all my bills and to have a little bit left over. And that for me, that just wasn't really realistic as far as my reach for my audience is not that big, or rather is not big enough to support that. There I'm working really hard to make these photo shoots and I'm working really hard for all these edits and I'm only getting $200 or $300 back, maybe $400 if I get a really big package and they really want all the bells and whistles, but that honestly doesn't happen very often. So I found myself in this, vicious cycle of working myself down to the bone and really not having anything to show for it in the end. Sure, I can pay for a bill here, a bill there, maybe afford a new piece of equipment every year, but that's not what a business should look like, in my opinion. And when it comes down to it, it's just not a sustainable business model. So here I am. I have changed my business model to focus on profit, to focus on my family, to focus on the quality of my artwork. And that's really where a lot of the value comes from in photography is the value of your art, that no one else can make what you made and that you are making something personal, something emotional, and something special for your client. And there is value in that. So how you interpret value into a price is up to you. It's all very relative too. But I hope to give some tips here that will help you kind of on your journey of how to price yourself, or rather, how to move to that next level of profitability. So, first, let's talk about the art of photography. We need to understand the art aspect of what we're creating. We're not just taking a few pictures, we're not just making some snapshots, we're not just, shooting a few photos here and giving them the files. Like, no, you got to have a bigger vision for your photography. If you intend on charging what your photography is worth and in a way that's going to make a sustainable business model, you've got to see it as more than just pictures. So, my first of these 3 bullet points is that your photography is a service. That means it serves a purpose. You're doing a service for the person, the family, the business, the model, whatever it is. You're rendering a valuable service. And those services take time. It takes a lot of time to edit, to shoot, learn to edit, to set up your equipment, to tear it down, driving to and from, uploading and sending and contacting, communicating. All these steps in the entire process of just a single photo shoot takes up a lot of time. Would you expect someone to fix your car for free? Let's say they're doing a really deep job. They're like taking your engine apart. They're replacing I don't know, a piston or something deep inside. It takes a lot of labor. Would you expect them to do that for free? No way. Why? 2 reasons. First, they're using up a lot of time, right? That's 15 to, I don't know, 30, 40 hours out of their life. They just committed to repairing your engine. How nice of them. You would never expect to not pay them, right? Because it's a lot of time used, and time is money. Second reason why you would never expect to not pay a technician for doing a deep repair on anything is their skills are special. Can you do that? No. If you could, you would have done it yourself, but you're not. You're hiring them. So their skills are special and they have value. So that's my second point is photography is not just a service. So point 1, photography is a service. It serves a purpose. Point 2, photography is a specialty. Not everyone can do it. Don't believe the myth of, oh, everyone's a photographer these days. Everyone picks up a camera for Christmas. All these moms and all these college students, they think they're photographers. They're not. They might love taking photos and they might even take great photos, but that does not make them a photographer. So what makes someone a photographer? Well, that's really up to you. Of course, it's still kind of a relative thing. Like, what does professional mean if you're a professional photographer? It's more up to the person, I think. But because photography is a specialty, that means you are becoming the expert on the thing that you're shooting. You're doing something that the client can't do for themselves. Sure, they can take great photos with their new iPhone, but it's not going to compare to professional photos if they're doing it right. And you want to set yourself apart. You want to be able to say, hey, look, sure, you got a great camera on your phone, but there's no way you're going to take these kinds of photos. And then on top of that, there's no way you're going to get professional prints like what I can offer you and put in your house. So that's a specialty mindset of what your photography is. Third point is it is an art. Photography is art. That means it's a human thing. It's emotional, it's very personal, it's also very creative. You're putting your heart and soul into these photo shoots. Now, sure, not every photo shoot's a wild cosplay composite where I'm doing research and I'm building CGI props like some of my stuff. Sometimes it's just a normal family photo shoot. Like this Saturday, I had a photo shoot on a bridge in New Braunfels. I shot them, edited the photos. It was really quick and simple as far as editing time because the lighting was great. Cloudy, overcast day, love it. So there wasn't a whole lot of creativity involved in the normal sense of the rest of my work. But hey, this is still an art form. This is still emotional because these are family photos. These are very important. Kids grow super fast. If you don't believe me, have some kids because you probably don't have kids if you don't agree. They are little time traveling machines with legs that make a mess everywhere. And once you have them, time starts to speed up. And before you know it, they're 5 and you're old. And why didn't I get photos done every year? That that happens. So family photos especially are very personal and emotional, and they're special. I just rendered a great service to this family. I've used my specialty and I've created art. Boom. Point one, two, and three, right there in one sentence. Sometimes I impress myself. All right, so that's understanding the art form and the kind of the purpose behind photography. Next point I want to discuss is underpricing yourself. So, the danger of underpricing yourself. This is a trap that so many photographers fall into when they get started out, and many of them never get out of the trap. And honestly, I think this is a reason why a lot of photographers quit. And conversely, it's a reason why a lot of customers out there expect the world of us for just $75. It's a very vicious cycle because it continues and continues and it kind of saturates through the market on the client's end. And all these customers out there are spoiled by photographers who underprice themselves. And now they expect, amazing photos that look like they could belong on a magazine cover. And they expect prints and digitals and all this work to be done. And they're only willing to pay $50 to $100 for that. Why? Well, because they got it from the last guy who was underpricing himself, who gave the world to them for a little to nothing. So there's two sides of this coin. First, like I said, the client is spoiled, and they're expecting the world of every other photographer that should be the same and should deliver the same quality and same quantity. But the other side of the coin is that the photographers are getting burnt out and unsatisfied, and they're not able to support their families with the art. So it's a really bad slippery slope. When you're underpricing yourself, it affects you in negative ways. You're getting paid less and you're working more to meet that goal of what you promised them or what they're expecting. And as a result of that, you're going to begin to undervalue yourself and look less upon your art of photography as well. It's really only worth, a good photo shoot is maybe worth about $150. And I strongly disagree with that. There are clients out there who will pay $2,000 to $10,000 for a family photo shoot. Did you know that? I didn't know that a few months ago until I started doing research into IPS. I got on the IPS Masterminds Facebook group. I just started, scrolling and stalking and reading comments, looking at pictures. And honestly, a lot of these success stories are what really, really encouraged me to finally make this jump. I was seeing pictures on there, actual pictures of checks that photographers were receiving from their clients. $4,000, $6,000. There was a $20,000 check that a family wrote a photographer who did some really great photos of their kids, doing Harry Potter stuff and very fantasy. Some of it was composite Photoshop work. And yeah, they were great photos. They told lots of stories. They were very emotional and beautiful, and they provided really large, high quality prints and albums and all kinds of cool stuff. And yeah, this photographer made $20,000 off this one job. I can't even fathom that. But I'm not going to say that'll never happen to me because you know what will happen if I say that? It'll never happen to me. Now, I'm not saying you just believe it and it's going to pop up. You got to work towards those goals. But if you begin to doubt yourself, if you start to undervalue yourself, like I was saying earlier, you're never going to bust past that ceiling. It's going to limit you and it's going to hurt you. And then you are at high risk of being burnt out and unsatisfied and just bored of photography because you're not getting paid what you're worth. And like I said earlier, when you underprice yourself, it hurts the entire industry because clients are used to getting all this stuff and all these digitals and all yada, yada, yada for a little to nothing. And that continues on. I meet so many clients who just can't fathom paying anything higher than $100 for something. And I say, well, what was your experience last time like with a photographer? Oh, well, I only paid him $50 and, he put all the photos on a CD and gave it to me, all the raw photos, they unedited so I could play with them. I'm thinking, yeah, that's not how I do things. I take care of you from start to finish. And the only thing you're ever going to receive from me is the highest quality, finished work, finished artwork that is ready to hang on your wall. And in fact, I will do the printing and bring it to your house and hang it on your wall for you. That's how I work. I don't do that other stuff. So we have to re-educate clients a lot of times, and we have to be very polite and sensitive about it. Sometimes they just don't want to hear it. It's not always the opportunity to tell them why they're wrong and why you're right and why the way you do things is perfect. That's not the situation. But when we do have an opportunity, we need to take advantage of that and help educate clients on the value of photography if we can. All right. So here's kind of the body of this podcast episode is 4 different ways to make money, or really to clarify, to become profitable with your photography. And these are 4 different methods. And I'm going to talk about what I did and why and how after I address these 4 types. All right. The first way to make more money with your photography is increase your price. I know, right? Genius. But here's an addendum here. We're increasing our price without making any changes to our photography. We're not getting better. We're not increasing our quality. We're not offering new products. Nothing's changing in this first method. We're just increasing our price with no reflection whatsoever on any of our services or quality. Not a wise step, in my opinion. Second method is you can learn a new skill or a new type of photography. And voila, now you're making money you could not have made before. For example, I do not do real estate photography. I've never taken the photos of an interior of a house and sold it to a real estate or a company to sell that house. Maybe I will one day. I don't have a lot of interest in it, and I don't feel like there's a lot of money for me to be made in that, just because of what else I'm making money on. But there is an industry, and there is a need for good quality interior home photos. Other things are product photography, which also I don't really do because I just haven't had that opportunity. But there is a high demand for quality product photos for online stores and social media. So if you learn a new skill, like a different type of photography, or let's say you learn how to use a studio setup, now you can do studio photos when it's cold or when it's night or when it's hot outside. You can still be rocking and rolling and making money because now you can do studio photos. Other things like flash, shooting at night, shooting weddings. That is definitely a whole bunch of skills wrapped up in one that you can learn if you have the time and if you have the money, because a lot of these times learning new skills is going to require new equipment, or is going to require, some kind of formal education, either a workshop or mentorship or something like that, which I do offer, by the way. I had to slip that in there. So learn a new skill or a type of photography. Now you're reaching a new market and you can be making money that you weren't making before, in addition to what you did previously. All right, that's the second method. Third method of making more money with your photography is reach more customers. It's just so easy, right? Just reach new people and they'll all hire you. This is definitely easier said than done. This is going to require a lot of marketing, a lot of research, money spent on ads and promotions and things like that, blah, 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 networking with people, business, market alliances with other local companies. A lot of work involved to reach new audiences and to expand your reach of customers. But it can be done, and it is a way to make more money. You increase your advertising, and you hope that it pays back in new customers. The fourth method of making more money is increase the value of your product and raise your prices together. So unlike the first method where we just raised our prices for no real reason and hoping people don't, question, well, what are we getting more from last time I shot with you? We don't really have a good answer. This fourth method of making more money is you're increasing your value as a photographer by offering new products and higher quality product and longer lasting images, things like that are more impactful. And you're raising your price to reflect that. So with my new change to IPS and all the other things that I'm focusing on in my business is basically methods 2, 3, and 4 all wrapped up into one. So that first method is sort of a trick question. You don't normally want to increase your prices without making any changes. Now, you've experienced photographers are probably thinking, well, I raise my prices every year without really changing anything because I'm better every year. I'm worth more every year. I have more experience. You're absolutely right. And that's not really what I'm talking about with this first method. Every year you should raise your prices some, or at least reevaluate how you're offering things and selling things, and maybe your hourly rate if that's comes into play with your photography pricing, because you are worth a whole year's worth more experience and you likely have some new equipment or can use your equipment better. Therefore, you're more valuable. You should charge more. That's not what I'm talking about. Those are all good points. Separate podcast. But with my switch to IPS, what I did is method 2, learn a new skill or type of photography. Now, I didn't necessarily learn a new skill in a normal sense, but but I am learning how to take care of print orders. I'm learning to process and make physical images, physical art, and sales itself is a skill that I've learned really. So I guess that could count too. I'm learning something new that will allow me to reach different people, which is method three, reach new customers or a new audience. I am definitely reaching new people. And conversely, there are people that come to me that I've shot before. They're not really my ideal customer anymore because literally all they want is just a few digital files. That's not what I cater to anymore. I'm more of a luxury photographer now. We'll get to that later. But more of a luxury service where this is not just $100 worth of photos. Like this is high quality stuff that you will literally have for the rest of your life. Your children will have for the rest of their life. Their kids could have these photos. This is like a long-term investment here, which is why I'm doing it only the highest quality and I'm putting everything I can, very personal, into making these photos great. So I'm reaching new customers because of that, because all the people that come my way, it kind of filters them out. Some people are into it. Some people are like, oh my gosh, yes, this is exactly what I want. Other people are in the middle. They didn't know that they wanted this, but once I tell them about the value of a physical print, of a hardcover album, of a metal print in their room, then they get it. They're like, "Oh, you are so right. I never thought about that before." Sometimes you get someone in the middle where you tell them about how you do things and it just blows their mind and they're on board with you from there on out. And the fourth method I'm also doing, of course, is I've increased the value of my product. So I used to just do digital files. Digital files don't have a whole lot of worth or value. Why is that, you say? Because they will last about a month on social media until no one sees those pictures again. And then maybe once a year when you do the Facebook memories thing, if you even do that, on hard drives, which last on average 3 to 5 years before they fail or get broken, lost, virus, damage, whatever. Those photos only have a lifespan of 3 to 5 years with that hard drive. Average Joe people do not back up their hard drives and carry them with them. And every time they get a new device, they move all their data over, or the new laptop, they move all the hard drive data over. Most people don't care or know how to do that stuff. So now your digital file has just died after about 3 to 5 years, and who knows where it is. They're going to come back to you later. Hey, do you still have these photos? I just remember we did a photo shoot like 10 years ago. Can I get those files back? And hopefully you have them. But that's not the life that I want for my photos. That's not my goal for my end product. And I don't want my customers to lose their photos and lose their memories like that. So I have increased the quality of my product by changing from digital only to print only. And I feel like that is a valuable service to my customers. Whether they know it or not, it is a good service. And most people will agree that there is more value in it. And I've had a lot of people say, I really want to do this. Like, I love what you're saying. I love your images. I totally agree about the print thing, but I just can't afford it right now. And I say, oh, that's totally fine. I understand. This is not for everyone. But at the same time, you can always save up your money for next season. And I do payment plans as well. So, which would you like to do? 2, 3, 4 month payment? It's up to you. So you make it accessible, but at the same time, you've got to realize that your type of photography is not going to be for everyone. And I don't want you, the listener, to assume that this podcast is all about going IPS. Maybe that's not for you. Maybe you do, I don't know, actor headshots or real estate, and selling prints is not really the right route. That's not really a thing in your industry, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you just do model portfolios and that's your thing. There's ways to make that profitable. But I hope that you're able to pick up on some of these things that I've learned and some of the things that I've come across in this transitionary time in my own business. And you can apply these lessons to your business and make it more profitable and see your art for what it's really worth. So like I said earlier, my switch to IPS has basically been methods 2, 3, and 4 all wrapped up into one. So I learned a new skill of sales. The third method was I'm reaching new customers because of this. I'm reaching people with more expendable income, which means they're able to, spend $500 without batting an eye on photos, or even more. And the fourth method was I'm increasing the value of my product, which used to be digitals, and now it's physical prints that could last easily 100 years. So that has all these things together have really been a big game changer for my business and for my income from photography. And I'm hoping that possibly by next year or the year after, I can go full time with what I'm doing. And I would love that. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be scary. It's going to be hard. But I believe in myself because of what I've seen just in the past month from this IPS stuff. And it's long overdue. Being profitable for my work is long overdue. I've been doing what I've been doing for 5 to 10 years and really don't have a lot to show for it, unfortunately. So some closing ideas, and these are gathered from some local photographers. I posted on the San Antonio Photographer Group, Facebook group, asking, "Hey, what wisdom would you give, new photographers, or maybe an experienced photographer that wants to go full time, wants to be more profitable, blah blah blah." Basically, the same discussion we're having now, and I got some really great stuff. So the first one was, "Don't crumble under the pressure from customers who only want to pay a small amount for your work. Don't change your prices for them. Remember this." You don't need them. you, you don't need them. You really don't. They need you. Because why? They're not photographers and they don't have a photographer. That's why they're coming to you. They need you. If they want great photos, I'm assuming your work is great. They need you. Sure, they can go to anybody else, but they haven't. They're coming to you right now. So you need to see this, that you don't need them to become a photographer. I thought this so many times and I crumbled under the pressure of customers. I would cut my price in half, or I'd cut them deals, or just pretty much just disregard my entire business plan and be like, okay, I guess I just do this for the gas, driving there and back. And, oh, your photos are going to really help my portfolio, or, shooting for them. They're popular, they're well known, they're influential. I'll get customers from them. It'll pay me back later. It never does. I've shot for very, very well known people. I've shot for Instagram cosplayers that have 63.9 thousand followers. I'm just looking at one of the cosplayers that I've photographed. I've shot for well known business people, popular people, blah, 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 semi famous locals. And you know what happened? I almost got no leads from them. And the people who saw those Instagram posts, they barely even come and like my page. They just look at the picture and the pretty person and it's done. It ends there. So relying on referrals in this way is not reliable. Don't cut them a cheap price because you hope and you pray and you cross your fingers that later on down the road you'll make money off of them. It's not always a realistic view. Sure, it happens, and word of mouth is the best kind of marketing, and it is the best way to get leads, I feel, because there's trust involved. But you can't lean on that and expect that to pull through every time, and to make it worth you compromising your entire business plan and your entire financial well-being just so that they can have some cool pictures on their Facebook. It's not worth it. So don't crumble to them. Second one is find your niche, or niche, or Nietzsche. I don't really know how to say that word. Nietzsche was a philosopher. This means finding what you love to photograph the most. You might love babies. You might not like adults. You might hate weddings, or you might love them to death. Find what makes you happiest as an artist, not just as a photographer, but as an artist and as a person, something you can get on board with, something you can smile the whole way through and enjoy it and talk about it later and dream about it. Like that's the kind of stuff that you need to pursue as a photographer. For me, I love cosplay. I love doing creative photos. I love doing themed photo shoots. I love making photos that make the viewer say, how the heck was this done? Is this even real? I basically just want to make you question your own reality and existence with my photos. That's my goal. So that's the stuff that makes me happy. So when I can, I work that in, and I'm pursuing that. Don't just go chasing stuff that you think is going to make you money because everyone else does it. You don't have to photograph models. And in fact, there's not a whole lot of money to be made in that industry anyway. You don't have to be a family photographer or a wedding photographer because everyone else does that. You may not be a people person. So real estate photography and product photography might be like heaven to you. You're photographing inanimate objects that don't have schedules. They don't argue. Maybe pets are your thing. You got to be creative. There's so many types of photography out there. You just got to find it. And to find it, you do need to try a lot of stuff, unless you just know off the back, well, yeah, I love animals and I'm going to go do that. For me, I had to try a lot of stuff to kind of find that I even could do cosplay, or that it even existed. I didn't know about 3 or 4 years ago. I didn't really understand cosplay. I didn't know that I could do Star Wars photo shoots, like it wasn't a thing for me until I tried stuff and I got out there and I discovered this culture that I loved. So try a bunch of stuff with the goal of finding your niche, because that's where you can spend your time and not feel like you're wasting your life away. When you find that niche with your photography, it's less of a job and it's less work. And it's more like, I get to do this. This is going to be a great day. I can't wait to get to work. That's your goal. All right. Next idea is you are a luxury. Your photography is a luxury item, just like a diamond necklace or the latest iPhone or interior decor in your home. These are things you can live without. But people that have the money to spend on them don't want to live without them, so they get them. That's a luxury item to me. And photography is similar. You can live without ever having a photo taken of you in your life. You can still survive. You'll live. You will. But you want your work to be appealing and to be a service that people desire. And that's where the art aspect comes in, and your unique style and things like this. to where people, in their minds, they think, I can't live without that luxury item, metaphorically. Although sometimes literally people are will say that I can't live without my iPhone. I can't live without, nice clothes, or I can't live without my latte every morning, blah, blah, blah. Those are luxury items that people are accustomed to having, and they find pleasure in them. Nothing inherently wrong with those things. I'm not saying that, but that's what photography is. And so you need to see it as such. So, as with any luxury item, not everyone can afford them, right? Not everyone can afford a nice Starbucks drink every morning. Not everyone can have a sweet sports car. Not everyone can have the latest, greatest clothes or newest iPhone because they just can't afford it. So, photography is the same. Not everyone can afford quality photography. When you're charging what you should not be affordable to everyone. When you're profitable and running a full on sustainable business model, it's not going to be affordable to everyone you know. It may not even be affordable by you. And that's definitely a point that I hit. And I had a discussion with my wife a while back. Similar how much I was going to charge for prints and why, and how much I'm charging for the shoot, this and that. She's like, we couldn't afford that. Like, I can't imagine spending that much on a print or on a canvas. I'm thinking, that's okay, honey. Like, I don't want me. I don't want a bunch of customers like me because I'm broke. I want to attract customers that have expendable income and also value what I'm doing. And while I value photography, I don't have that expendable income, and that's okay. You are not your ideal client, so get over it. Next idea is to know the cost of doing business, or CODB. This is a really big topic when we get into the business side of photography, is the cost of doing business. What is business? Everything. Doing the photo shoot, driving, communicating with the clients, having internet at your home to work from, having a phone to call them on, having decent equipment, cleaning equipment, buying new equipment, repairing equipment, blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on. Those are business expenses. You need to know how much it costs you to do a photo shoot. Did you know that doing a photo shoot costs you something? It also costs you a lot of time. That's a primary resource that you're using up. But it also is costing you financially to stay at a sustainable point where you're able to function and do a photo shoot. So you need to know how much it's costing you financially every month to be a working photographer, and also how much it's costing you in time and miles. You may say, okay, I have about $500 to $1,000 of expenses every month on average, and calculated throughout the whole year. So you need to make at least that much to exist as a photographer every month and do your work in order to make profit. So what does that mean? You need to make at least 3 or 4 or 5 times that amount to be a sustainable business model. Don't forget about things like taxes, which takes about a third of your income. At least in Texas, it does. And then another third might go back into your business, investing, saving up for the next camera upgrade in a few years, or purchasing better lights, or repairing broken equipment. Because when you're busy as a photographer, man, your stuff gets dinged up and gets used. Like, my stuff is wearing out because I use it so much. I've gone through 2 light stands. I have one good light stand with no damage on it that I can think of. And the diffuser I use has lost its Velcro strap. It just ages really quickly when you're going in and out of a car, shooting and wandering around a location. So I've got expenses just to replace my stuff every year. And that's not even talking about the other expenses I have. So things like that, you got to take into consideration, do your math, and make sure you're charging enough every month to make past the cost of doing business into the realm of profit, and also able to pay for taxes, savings, repair, and personal bills. That is it for this episode. I hope you guys out there have listened and have been inspired and challenged in your mindsets of photography and price and business. If so, please let me know what your thoughts are, whether you agree or maybe you disagree. Maybe you have a different view. Maybe you have a different success story that is totally different than mine. And that is awesome. I love success stories. Even if they're not like mine, send them my way. You can reach us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. That's TVV, like the Visionary Variety Podcast, @gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. You'll have a great week. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so that you won't miss any of the future episodes. You can also find our previous episodes there and listen whenever you want. We love to hear from our listeners, so if you've got any comments or suggestions for a future episode, you can always reach us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again and have a great week. Hey, honey. Yep, I'm doing the podcast. Again. Right now. Yeah, sorry.